Welcome back to the roundtable
on a special mishmash edition of Everything EOS. And I'm being joined today by Peter Keay from the EOS Dev series and Evan Schindler. Today's episode is a casual roundtable discussion among three amigos building some really cool stuff for the EOS main net, as well as our thoughts on podcasting and content creation. Everything EOS is always brought to you by Cypherglass. Please support this channel by voting Cypherglass in your favorite wallet or block explorer. Please subscribe and hit that like button. Now here we go.
Welcome to Everything Roundtable.
Whoa.
What?
Is this roundtable or is this Everything EOS?
I think it should be roundtable. What do you think it should be?
I mean,
I'm not from either, so I don't really care. Well, I'm from Everything EOS, but I'm not on the regular podcast.
I think it could be both.
I think you guys should fight about it.
Should we fight? Should we?
You both have wrestling experience, right?
I don't.
I do.
Oh, well then, yeah, fight about it.
You have wrestling experience. Remember when he took down Ethereum, Macho Man?
Oh,
EOS
yeah,
man?
yeah. A couple of minutes of wrestling experience and a scarecrow mask.
I have about 6 months under my belt. When I was 20 in college, my buddy and I.
Backyard wrestling?
No, it was real, professional. It was fake, studio wrestling, but
yeah, it
was in this empty warehouse in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia, and we would go twice a week and train. Basically, just
what did you do? Was there a ring?
Yeah, it was a legit place.
What was your best move?
I didn't get that. I basically learned how to fall and stuff. It sucked.
Is that belt really yours? You won it? You won that title?
I have a belt that I really won in college. I actually won a title belt. So I was in this fraternity in college, and my pledge day, everyone's just all shit-faced. And
did you have full-on Wrestling gear too, like that picture we've seen?
That was the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah,
that was an '80s party that same year.
Oh,
but so this other guy, he was a senior at the time, and he had this plastic wrestling title belt. And we were just all hammered, and we hung it from a tree and fought each other in a ladder match.
And whoever could climb the ladder up the tree.
So there was a ladder. There was a plastic WWE title belt hanging from a tree branch.
Yeah.
And we put a ladder under it, and basically whoever could climb to the top of the ladder and pull the belt down and get both feet to touch the ground won the fight.
Wow. So would people be halfway up the ladder fighting each other?
I mean, we mostly just wrestled around on the ground.
There were 3 fatalities that day.
That's how Gall won.
They went through 7 ladders before
we used to
the
do
blood of sorority girls.
Balls.
No, it was weird, man. I went to this small college. We had maybe 1,700 students, so there wasn't a whole lot to do. And the house I lived in was all the football players and wrestlers, actual collegiate wrestlers. And we used to just fight each other all the time.
This is starting to sound a lot like a round table and not Everything EOS.
Yeah, all right.
So about this time, I was busy trying to forget my gym clothes as often as possible so that I never had to do phys ed at school. I was that kind of kid. But you were going to school for some kind of computer thing, right?
So I should have went for computer science in retrospect. Growing up, I was building websites. I built a website in 1999. I was in 7th or 8th grade, and I was always really interested in it, but I just didn't like math and sciences, and I thought that's what the computer science track would be. And it was before universities offered web was still pretty new. I started college in 2004, so I did this digital media communications track where I actually came full circle because in college I did a lot of video stuff and audio stuff. I did commentating for the women's basketball games, and I was real into it back then. But then when I graduated, or before I even graduated college, I realized there's no career in this. I'm never going to be...
Even though here you are.
Yeah. I mean, didn't you go to school for something like that?
Yeah, so I went to college. I went to university in Pittsburgh for a year and studied a data analysis, but I just took freshman courses. And then I transferred out of that program and went into mass media and comm. But I never wanted to get into video because, again, I was you can't do video. So I would do Adobe Creative Cloud stuff. And even though there's really no careers in that either, but I was always screw it, I'll just go be a salesman somewhere. And then that's how I got into my profession.
I did a lot of journalist stuff too. So I wasn't a journalist major, but I took a lot of journalist classes, and I was on the team for the newspaper. And it was 2004, so like the website was terrible. It was just like a plain HTML site, wasn't tapped into a CMS or anything. And throughout like my first, I don't remember if it was my freshman or sophomore year, but I completely rebuilt the entire like college newspaper site, linked it into a CMS, and it was just like 1,000 times better from there. And they all thought
is your version still the one that's up? Can we go take a look at it?
But it was it was. As of a couple, like it's different now, but for like years after I graduated, it was the same platform. Like the design changed and stuff, but they stuck with the platform that I chose. So
I kind of did the opposite. I guess I started as computer science. In fact, I was going to go to Drexel University out in Philadelphia, which is one of the best computer science programs there is.
Wow!
And I decided I don't want to sit in front of a computer screen the rest of my life. Like that was a decision I made at some point. And I moved through majors like, I was a piano perf major, an interpretive speech major, a theology major, a psychology major, a counseling major.
Jeez.
I did foreign languages. You
did all those majors
I didn't know what to do.
once?
What? No, I mean, like I moved among them until I had amassed so many like credits from various disciplines that I had to find a major that would let me graduate. Like I had happened to fulfill enough of those requirements. So I ended up with like a degree in counseling because like, not because I wanted that, but because I had all these like computer science and that was the program that had the most electives because I guess nobody really knows anything about counseling. So there's a lot of electives.
Yeah.
We should talk about
now
stuff.
that we've talked about our background for 9.5 minutes. Let's talk about Dappiness, right?
Dappiness. What's that?
So Dappiness is happiness with a D in front of it. We give you the D for Dappiness. And
I don't know if we give you the D should be our slogan.
Yeah.
No, our slogan
Dappiness,
is
we give you the D. Oh, man.
no, our slogan is "Don't worry, be dappy." What do you think about that slogan?
I like it.
I like
that's
that.
not bad.
That's good. That's what's on our website now, right?
Yeah. Do you think Bob Marley's like estate's going to come after us for that?
No.
Well, now it is that I whistled it. YouTube's algorithm is going to pick up the song and we're going to get monetized, you know? Oh, man.
So this isn't a roundtable. This isn't an Everything EOS. It's kind of like a bit of cross-promotional stuff,
We
I
don't
guess.
know where we're
here.
going to post it.
We don't
Maybe
know.
Both, one, I don't know.
Yeah,
But Dappiness is building some apps for EOS, which makes it very relevant to the EOS space.
very relevant to the EOS space. We want to talk about that. We've been kind of holding it close to the chest. I'd say probably for the past 4 months, we haven't really
mostly because
said
when you
anything?
tell people about a project, they want to see it. And a lot of the initial work's been smart contract work. So unless they want to look at the code,
right.
there's really it wasn't a whole lot to see for a long time.
Yeah.
So if you can't show me anything, it doesn't exist yet, you know?
So I don't know. What are we going to talk about? How Dappiness kind of came together? What is it? What is Dappiness? What are we doing?
Yeah, so we got to get back to the origin stories then. So
ICO Alert origin stories?
ICO Alert.
Okay, so hold on. Let me define what Dappiness is first. Jeez, my hair's going crazy. And then we'll go to our origin story. So Dappiness is the three of us here, right? And we have essentially what we've done is through Pete's ability to create awesome smart contracts, one of the best EOS programmers in the world, Mr. Peter Keay, and Zack Gall being the most famous person in the EOS ecosphere, the host of Everything EOS.
I just educate the world.
The Colossus of Clout.
My superpower is falling into deep, deep wormholes, reading everything possible there is to know about a topic, and then I found an outlet for it.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Well, it has worked out beautifully. And then I came along and you guys were like, oh, this guy can wheel and deal on the phone and maybe do some other stuff. And I tried to prove my value. I think for Dappiness...
Did he wheel and deal us into getting him on?
That's exactly...
kind of making... like, I'm starting to think about that now.
I mean, he offered to handle all of the business stuff, working with the legal team. We just...
So all the
signed our
stuff we
lease
never
into
want
our
to do.
new co-working space today, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Evan took care of that for us.
Yeah,
via my recommendation.
Yeah, that was really an introduction through Gall, but it was cool. It's an awesome place, and we definitely talk about that a little bit later.
Oh, later. All right.
Well, yeah. So through Dappiness, though, the three of us. I mean, I guess so. From my background, I have some experience doing co-founding startups before. I've worked with later stage startup before I started my own. That was funded by MasterCard. It was all payments, electronics, EMV cards, stuff like that. So not like super crypto, but definitely crypto adjacent, I'd say. And then from there, I started my own, which was QR payments, which did okay in Pittsburgh, but you know, it's kind of hard. Mobile apps is a hard market. So, but we said, man, Gall's doing so well with Everything EOS. Why don't we put something together?
Yeah, I remember like Pete is like not a maximalist in anything. So he like he tries to play with everything. Like introduce the Ethereum challengers.
It's not really like a matter of principle. It's not like, well, I need to play fair and be everybody's friend. There's definitely some things out there that I really don't like. Some of the top coins that I won't ever hold.
You don't like pick a coin and say this is the best one. Nothing else is good at all. They all suck at everything, and this one's the best at everything.
It's not even that. That's true, but it's also like the best doesn't always win. You know, the best position wins in terms of like idea and implementation and just market conditions. It's not necessarily true that you'll find the coin that you think is the best, and that means it's going to dominate. But yeah, I'm very interested in platforms for tech reasons. I love Bitcoin. I like the idea of building things on Bitcoin and Lightning. I mean, I have a 22.9 quadrillion Satoshis or whatever it is. Sure, I love Bitcoin. I like privacy tech too, mostly because the tech. And I know that it's kind of tired to say, well, I'm not here for the money. I'm here for the tech. And it seems kind of holier.
There's like a meme out there.
It seems kind of holier than thou, yeah.
Did you see the meme of the guy? He has like all the gold rings and the big chains. He's like, I'm in it for the tech.
But I think these the DApp platforms, smart contract platforms, are really cool. And that doesn't mean I don't think anybody knows what kind of value they're going to capture. What if the protocol doesn't end up capturing or creating that much, and it's all the apps that do? You know, I don't know. So I'm really into EOS because it's usable. We can build dApps on it. We are building dApps on it, and it works. And for the same reason, I'm into a couple of others as well. Yeah.
So in the office, like Pete was like, we already had Everything EOS. We started Everything EOS about a year ago. Rob Finch and I. Pete. When did you guys start at ICO Alert? Let me backtrack.
I started February 2018.
2018.
I started just before you did.
Yeah.
And I started, I think, in October 2017. So by the time we started Everything EOS was around the time you guys came on board then, around that same exact time.
Yeah, I think I was there for maybe a month, and then you guys did your first episode.
So, I mean, I was pretty into EOS from day, like, probably a month before I started at ICO Alert, actually.
I remember some
and
of
then
the
I met Rob, and then it just took it to another level.
I remember some of the initial comments. I remember somebody going, Zack is talking so loud in there, because they had this separate room with like a glass panel that I'm sure everybody who's followed the podcast has seen. And no. It was just your enthusiasm.
That's what it is. I honestly, like, the reason I think the show and the format does so well is because Rob and I just both we geek out over this shit.
Yeah.
Like, we get overly excited, like and I get that normal people don't get as excited as we do about stupid little technical things. But it's just, I think it's contagious. People see us excited about something and then they get excited about it. And I think it's just kind of caught on.
You know, it's a funny story about when I came to ICO Alert. I knew about crypto from the past, but I wasn't like I didn't have like wallets and know everything about it. And, obviously, I knew about Bitcoin, I knew about Ethereum, but I kept hearing you guys talk about EOS. So one day, and I didn't even really know you that well yet, I walked back to your desk, which was like in the corner, and I'm like, so like tell me about like EOS, or like show me your portfolio, like what are you holding? And maybe like 30 minutes into the conversation, by the end, I was like, okay, so where do I need to go to buy EOS? And you just like look at Rob and you're like, I just set a new record for new employee buying EOS. It's like you guys had a competition to see who you could get to like buy into EOS. I mean, not literally.
I don't think you guys know when I bought an EOS, because I didn't come to ICO Alert as an EOS bull. I definitely had an eye on like the mid cap and even low cap coins. Like, I watched for gems, and I still have some coins that are in like the 200s or whatever on the charts. But EOS had, for some reason, just it completely missed my radar until I bumped into you guys and said, whoa, there's something to this.
Well, I mean, for the longest time, it was like called a scam by everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I was a huge Ethereum bull all through 2017, from early 2017 to late 2017. Like, I thought Ethereum was good, but that's because you read CoinDesk, you read Cointelegraph, everyone's hyping up Ethereum as being this great thing, and then you go on Reddit, especially in what is the crypto? I forget what the Reddit is. That's just a bunch of trolls.
Cryptocurrency?
Is that just what it is? Crypto markets.
Oh, crypto markets.
Like, they just shit on EOS. Even to this day, if you post anything positive about EOS, it gets downvoted to hell. But like once you get past that, you see that like there's real technology there, and there's a real good team there. And
do you guys think that the reason ETH has been lacking so far behind as far as their scalability and usability is because they're so focused on decentralization that they're not able to move as fast as some of the other protocols?
Well, I think I might want to clear up a misconception here. You can build an app on Ethereum right now using technologies that allow you to scale. It's kind of overstated. Like, there's very limited transaction per second count on Ethereum, but you can build something functional on Ethereum right now. It's just difficult. And I think the more serious problems with Ethereum are things like you can't really upgrade things. So, like, for instance, I like MakerDAO. One of the reasons I like them is the formal verification of their contracts. It's not like, well, maybe some bug is going to wipe out millions. I mean, I know there's still kind of a tail risk that might happen, but to my knowledge, they've formally verified a lot of their contracts, which means they've mathematically proven them to act in the way they're supposed to. But on EOS, you can develop something, and if there's a bug, which there's always bugs in software, then you can update it or essentially freeze the contract. You clear the contract. And that kind of upgradability on Ethereum, if you want to push an update, you have to basically create an entirely new contract and get everybody to migrate over. It's insane. Imagine if Facebook was ossified, the Facebook code, and they had to create like a Facebook 2 that you had to sign up for all over again, or like they had to migrate everybody or whatever and get them to start using that. And get all the OAuth stuff moved. It'd be a nightmare, and that's what's going on right now. Eventually, I think that there will be solutions for that that make that better on Ethereum. But the question is, will it come in time? I don't know if it'll come in time.
I don't think so. I don't think Ethereum is going to fail. I think what we're seeing now is a lot of bridges and relays that basically allow you to wrap your Ethereum token and put it on something like EOS, and you could have the scalability while still having like your base platform be EOS. So you get the best of both, or your base platform be Ethereum. I'm sorry. So you get the best of both worlds, and I think that's what we're going to see is like this mesh of like all these different networks. I feel like a token could live on like. Right now, we're seeing a lot of like Bancor, BNT token lives on both Ethereum and EOS, and it does the same thing on both platforms. I don't see a reason why there couldn't be a time whenever we'll see tokens on like multiple like platforms, even more than those two platforms, whether they're all EOSIO platforms or Ethereum and EOS or Ethereum IOST and EOS. I don't know. But
IOST, what's that about?
So
what is IOST all about?
Well, let me just finish this and we get into that. The way I see it is like, think about like Apple and Android, right? Mm-hmm. You build an application, and if you're like a maximalist to one like EOS, let's say, and you only build on EOS and you say screw everything else, I'm not going to build on it. That's equivalent to building on Android, not building on Apple. Like if you want to capture the entire market share, you want to capture the market share of all of the different crypto communities and blockchain platforms. So to build on cross platforms, just like if you're a game developer, you're building on Nintendo, you're building on Sony, you're building on Microsoft, Xbox. So to pigeonhole you into one thing is just silly.
Well, right, but what we're seeing a lot of players do, let's just throw Scatter out there, is they want a future where even if something is only deployed on EOS, you can still run it with other assets, or potentially even on other chains, but get into that some other time. But like take your example of Apple and Android, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you want to build something that works immediately on both, mm-hmm. then you don't deploy it to the stores. You make a website, mm-hmm. and it can open on either one. It's that kind of like we're going to have multiple platforms like Windows, Mac, and Linux, for instance, probably. But then there are things that people are going to build that'll work across all of them, and that won't pigeonhole you or force you to develop specifically for each of these solutions. Mm-hmm. Right now, you have to pick one, basically.
Yeah.
But I think we're coming up pretty quickly, relatively quickly anyway, on a world where I can build an app on, say, EOS, and people can use Ethereum or Tron accounts to pay for it and use it.
And that comes with like the Scatter bridge actually brings them all together. Right. Also. I agree. Like I'm betting my basically life wealth savings, whatever you want to call it at this point.
Significant wrestling winnings.
On EOS.
He sold the ladder.
But I don't necessarily only support projects financially. Just because I don't own a token doesn't mean I'm not cheering you on. Like with IOST.
Wait, so before we flip over to IOST,
we do have to mention the courses too, though.
Do we want to talk about what specifically we're working on right now with Dappiness as far as the games that we want to come out with? So we're in development for 2 games right now. The first one is... Should we like
just call them out?
All out?
This is subject. All names are subject to change.
Yeah, all names are subject to change, right? But the first project, which we've been working on for 3.5 months, is
I'd say we came up with the concept. We got to backtrack to origin stories of Dappiness, and Pete started programming on EOS just on his local testnet, and he's like, "This is really nice. It's just like working with tables." And this is like months before the hackathon in San Fran.
Yeah.
And then Pete and I were going to go to the San Fran hackathon regardless. And you were like, we had like this little inner circle at ICO Alert, especially towards the end, the three of us, we'd all get lunch together and stuff. And Evan, you agreed to come. So like the week leading up to the EOS hackathon, we came up with this concept and said, because we thought it was going to be a gaming theme. We were like, let's brainstorm a bunch of ideas. So like the week or two leading up to the hackathon, we were just brainstorming a lot of ideas and they're mostly games. fantasEOS. That's
fantasEOS is the name of the game. Yeah.
Drop. Yes, it has EOS in the name. We know.
Yeah.
But fantasEOS. Like come on, it sounds great.
fantasEOS.
That weekend in San Fran's kind of where we decided that if ICO Alert wasn't going to work out anymore, which it didn't seem like it was, business over the the ICO market died in 2018.
Right.
We kind of
everyone in that company was looking for new things to do by that point. So we ultimately found something, right? The brand's kind of pivoted, but
yeah. So then last December, the company kind of dissolved. Like all of the employees were given a severance and let go. And then that's when we were like, all right, guys, I think it's perfect timing to actually move forward with the games we talked about. And I'd say that's where it started. So why don't we explain what fantasEOS is?
Yeah, okay. fantasEOS is our first project, but maybe not the first to launch. First one we conceived of.
Right.
And how much we want to say?
Yeah.
I guess we could just
You want to go for it, or you want me to go
sure,
for
I'll
it?
go for it.
I think explaining it's going to sound better than what the MVP might even have. Let's sell the vision, not the MVP.
No, we could put a demo up even.
We could put a demo up, yeah.
So fantasEOS is where you pick a dream team, like a fantasy crypto team, and you pick. We basically envision them as cards, the leaders of these various
NFTs.
cryptos. And I know that they're decentralized, but come on, there's leaders, right? Vitalik and stuff. And we create these NFTs that you put in your hand, and you build a dream team of cryptos. And then over a certain time period where you're playing against other players, if you beat those other players performance-wise, you get the winnings. You basically double your money. Right?
Yeah.
At least by default, right? So you buy in and you have the opportunity to double your money. And not only are there public rounds, which is kind of the DraftKings kind of feel to a fantasy game, we've also got private rounds going, which lets you do a couple of things. You can challenge a friend directly and be like, hey, Zack, you've been long on EOS for like 10 years. I challenge you. Come on. I challenge you to a hand, a verse-off, put some money on the line. But you can also do a public challenge where you have a code, you tweet it out or something. You're like, hey, I'm Zack Gall, or I'm Evan Schindler, and I think that Tron is going to do great, and this is going to do great. This is not a financial investment advice, but I'm willing to put money down on the line. And, you bet your 5 EOS or whatever, and other people can join the pot and join your public round to challenge you and trade against you.
With the private rounds, it also acts as like a referral code. So instead of someone just clicking your link and you knowing that you gave them a referral and hooked them up, you're basically, Pete wants to set this game and Pete's this big influencer and people want to compete against Pete. Pete's able to kind of like monetize his influence because Pete creates great content. The Bitcoin Stable, the Everything EOS developer series. If you want to support Pete, you can try to kick his ass in this game, and you know that a small percentage of the pot is going to Pete. And then there's some other variables in here. So we said you could double up, and in that case, if let's say 100 people were in a round, the bottom 50 roughly, because there's like the transaction fee or whatever, the bottom 50% would pay the top 50%. But that's a variable. So you could set it so there is a variable where the top 10% of the scores collect the bottom 90%. So then your winnings are much higher, but you have a smaller percentage chance to win.
Yeah, you multiply your risk and your reward. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of what else we forgot. So with the NFTs, so you have the base cards are what you get just for playing, but then we'll have special NFTs that you'll be able to buy or win. And those have like special functions or features. So for example, if you played base Ethereum, let's just say 1 point is 1%. If the price goes up 1% within the game like time frame, you get 1 point. If it goes down 1%, you lose 1 point. But then we have NFTs that have special abilities. So maybe if Ethereum goes up and you have Vampire Vitalik, he gets an extra, he gets double the points if it goes up. But then if the price goes down, if you're long, and then if it goes the opposite, you lose twice the points.
You said if you're long, we are from launch adding the ability to short as well. So even if you don't think the market's going up, you could still win money. I mean, maybe you can even hedge, your holdings by shorting coins.
And I think before we move on to the arcade, we are only using native EOS tokens for this game. The EOS token is the only way to play any of our games we're going to talk about here. We're not doing a token model. We're not doing an ICO. We're not trying to raise money. We just want to make really good games that could get volume and people enjoy. And we only make money as a company if there's volume.
Right. So what do you want to talk about the other game that we have going on right now?
Sure. Yeah. We're also working on an arcade idea, which is actually more like of a platform for simple games. Simple games, I mean, I guess there could be more complex games on it, but we're deploying some simple games first.
It's really anything that's high score based.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be high score based, and it has to be a game of skill. It can't be like roulette.
Right.
And you pay a small amount, like equivalent to an arcade token, basically, to play the game for a certain amount of time. And if you break the current high score, you get the pot, which is made up of tokens paid before, minus dev fees or whatever. So like you can actually win money and even get an income to some degree by playing well, by breaking high scores. And so as more games come out, there will be more pots, more opportunities for people with various kinds of skills to win. Maybe you don't like that kind of doodle jumpy game, and maybe you want to play something a little bit more, mentally challenging rather than just hop, 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 hop. And so we're going to start releasing games to the platform. We'll probably have a few games out initially to show to the community, and then add a couple more games before we really start to push it to people that are even outside of crypto whenever that's possible. And so I'm really excited about this idea. I don't know that we've settled on a name yet. I've been calling it Get Paid Arcade.
I really do like that name, but I do want to just tell people if they're interested in this, one of the things that we want to do is kind of work with our community and work with our players on the different rewards models, because the way we have it now, which isn't set in stone, just like anything else, we want to have it so that you put a token in and you get a certain time period to set the high score. Yeah, an EOS token.
Right.
And what we were also thinking about implementing was, maybe if you're not someone that could get the high score, but you keep trying, we could have an accumulative score that would, if I've played 100 games and I've only scored 10 points, well, now I have, 10,000 or whatever the math is on that, sorry. And then, but I'm not able to set the high score, but I've played a lot. So maybe there's like a certain prize for that's not as much as the other one. But one of the points that we're having today's podcast is because I want to direct people to Dappiness.io.
Spell it out.
DAPPINESS.io.
And what's the link to the Telegram channel?
t.me/Dappiness, I'm pretty sure.
Spelled the same way.
Spelled the same way, yeah. And what we really want is anybody that would be interested in playing these games, beta testing them, working with us, giving us your feedback on what you think would be a cool prize or a cool way to make the game better in any way, shape, or form. Definitely join the Telegram and give us your feedback.
Or we're also interested.
You're a game developer. So why don't you guys tell the origin story of this? Because I was out of the loop. I couldn't make it to the EOS New York meetup. Why don't you guys tell that story?
Sure. So Pete, you want to tell?
Yeah. We're at the EOS New York meetup, and this guy who came up to me. I don't know if he wants to be named yet.
We won't name him.
We won't name him yet. But this guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, I had this idea for a game on EOS, basically." And we talked a little bit about it, and it hit me later that day. At first, I was like, that's yeah, okay, whatever. He said he really wanted to learn EOS programming and EOS smart contracts and stuff, but he was having trouble setting up his environment. So he was really looking forward to the developer series tutorials that I'm putting together that are coming out next month.
What an
amazing! Have we talked about that?
Everything EOS.
No, I will get back to that story. I will get back to that story. But yes, there are developer series videos coming out. Go ahead and make a note. But anyway, I'm going to return to the story. So I said, yeah, those are coming out soon. I'd be happy to help you. But we ended up talking about it, and Evan and I, and figuring out that we maybe could partner with this guy in order to launch a product where it uses his skills and our skills and builds an arcade for games. And we can even open it up to other game developers. If you want to make a JavaScript game and deploy it on the platform, then, come talk to us. Drop us Telegram, sign up for an email, whatever. Send an email reply back. Leave a comment here in YouTube even if you want to, get in touch. And we want our developers on the platform to make a percentage
revenue share
of the pot. Yeah, right. Revenue share, because they built the game. So you build the game, you do what you love, and there's already the smart contract in place and marketing channels and everything to promote the game out to our listeners, our audience, our players, etc. and you get a big share of the income from that because you built the game. And one of the other things is that I don't remember what one of the other things was.
So I just want to bring up another interesting point.
Everybody,
it's roundtable, not everybody.
All right.
So, I guess just a little side note. This is a little bit unrelated, but it's another point we wanted to hit during the show. We did recently just partner with LFG, Looking for Group, which is a local co-working space.
See, you should let me go first then. Let me finish this. So, because
go ahead.
The cool thing about the arcade is that we could take a game that's already developed for mobile, has nothing to do with blockchain, and Pete is able to integrate it with blockchain to work within our ecosystem. So that's the really cool part is we're working for MVP, we're working with a non-blockchain dev, but it's going to be a blockchain-based game, but just like the high scores.
Right. Now it's got to be with dev permission. We can't put Pac-Man on unless Capcom says you, or Namco?
That's what I mean though. We're giving an opportunity to someone who hasn't learned smart contracts yet.
But then there's more to it than even that, that I want to just quickly explain. What we're doing is putting the high scores and the incentive model and stuff on the blockchain. The games themselves aren't actually on the blockchain right now. I mean, they're not ever going to be on the blockchain. But if you've heard about Liquid Dapps, you've seen the little explainer video I did, you maybe heard Rob and Zack talk about it. They're going to eventually enable the entire an entire DApp from the front end to the database to the smart contract to all be decentralized. So these games eventually will be fully decentralized. At first, it'll just be the score and revenue models that are decentralized. But I'm really excited about the future of this.
All right,
back to where you were.
Sure. So LFG, it's a local co-working space, but more than that, it's focused really on games and not only playing games, but and this is kind of why I wanted to bring this up. There's a lot of developers there and a lot of synergy with people that work there. There's a woman there who works in Blender making 3D assets and things like that. And since one of our big focus is going to be on NFTs and NFT creation, whether it's for a platform like the fantasEOS game that's very basic, two-dimensional kind of flat graphic, or it could eventually be something that is in high fidelity, something that's 3D modeled or in VR space or in AR. So LFG is kind of an amazing place for us to be because there's people there that are not only just in the game, they're not just enthusiasts and love gaming, but there's also people that work in the space professionally.
This partnership with LFG is going to be a great opportunity to bring non-blockchain people who are into gaming into blockchain gaming. This is like gaming community meets tech. And the reason I knew about it in the first place was because late 2016, I had a really good job at a nonprofit. I was really good at my job, but I wanted to get back into tech. So January, I quit my job. I was like, who quit at the top of their game? Barry Sanders. I was like the Barry Sanders. I just threw the sneakers up on the power lines.
The modesty from you, Gall.
Yeah, you're the perfect nonprofit worker.
No, you guys met my boss. I did that, and my boss was like, "Great idea." So I left to get back into tech. I did a 12-week coding boot camp, not because I wanted to be a developer, but because I wanted to get back into technology. Because before the nonprofit, I was in tech in like a business development role. And during that 3-month period, I quit my job. I had a 3-month window where I was learning how to program. The guy who taught me how to program is the guy who owns Looking for Group. He is like one of the best, he's a great teacher. He's a great developer, and he operates a code academy. And I see a lot of future synergies there. Hint, hint. So we've got Pete. We brought him on. He's now a partner at Everything EOS. And he's currently building a developer's tutorial series to teach someone who probably had a base knowledge of programming to teach them how to build on a blockchain. Now, we're working in a co-working space with a guy who operates a code academy. So when the timing is right, we're going to probably be able to mesh all of this together. And we're hopefully going to be one of the first code academies in the United States offering either an EOSIO or a blockchain course, whether that be a weekend boot camp. I don't think it's going to be a 12-week program. I think it could be like a 1-week program or like a weekend boot camp where it's like 2 straight days of just hardcore learning. But we are going to be trailblazers with that. And basically, we've got the perfect network to do it. And he operates an annual event every July called Replay FX. I think it's replayfx.com. And it's like all retro gaming. It's at the convention center. Thousands of people go to this thing.
Oh, really? I see. I didn't know about this.
Thousands of people go. And I think we're going to be in the perfect position to have all of our games there to introduce them to this audience.
Wow. See? Learn something new every time I talk to Gall.
When I was...
I never knew you were into nonprofits. I mean, I've started a couple, but I've also worked with orphans for years.
I loved that job because... dude.
That's great. Another similarity between us. The wrestling thing doesn't really cross this gap, but nonprofits, tech, all this,
what I learned working at a nonprofit was like their tech was terrible.
How many years were you there?
Probably 2.5.
2.5.
And the reason I left, one of the reasons I wanted to get back into tech, but I had this idea for this product that automated the interfacing and interoperability of the blood banking database of all of their donors. So like I knew that things could be done better and I wanted to build it myself. But then I found crypto and I don't really regret that. But I'm living the dream right now is kind of where I'm heading. And it's like everything I've done up until this point kind of makes sense. Like I did the video stuff in college, didn't really use it for a while. I learned like web development a long time ago. I learned code, like a lot of code, and I don't have to necessarily code today, but I could read Pete's code and know what it's doing. I can read a smart contract. And when you're done with that developer series, like we kind of joked about this of me doing your tutorial series.
Oh, I will totally do it.
I mean, I have no doubt I could be.
I think Rob might go for it.
Like I'm going to do your course.
It's interesting how all the we're talking about all these things coming together. And in blockchain, I hear this a lot. And it's because, there's so many things in the space. You could have a background in like economics with like a smattering of law and like a passion for cryptography or like networks or something, or like sociology or whatever. And you'll find all those skills apply here because we're trying to create whole networks of people that are built on technology, have strong economic incentives. It's just such a multifaceted space. But this one is one that people won't know yet. And that I used to be in a very religious circles, and I'm not going to say much about this, but I actually had to learn to present, to preach, basically, to present things. And so I would build, and this is way back. I don't do this anymore, but I would like have a message I wanted to get across, and I would compile like stories from my own past and from history and philosophy and stuff that I knew and from religious text and like present, it kind of as a cohesive whole. And I realized that kind of explaining using illustrations and stuff to explain complicated concepts in like a simple way is exactly what I've done with Bekenstein's table.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm doing with the developer courses as well. Is like kind of building a narrative out of something that doesn't seem like a narrative at first, and making it make sense that way. And so it's funny, but like in a sense, my crypto podcasts and developer courses are kind of sermons. See, but it's not.
I thought you guys weren't maximalists. What are you talking about?
There's absolutely no like religious content, of course, and I wouldn't put that in any way now with where I'm at right now. But those like, it's still like the skill of communicating, and I find it really interesting that that's come to bear.
I was going to say part of your preaching that you learned in the past that's helped, kind of cultivate your new projects with EOS. I was going to say maybe it's helped you with your daily FUD videos. Tell people about that.
A week ago now, it hasn't been that long, I started posting daily FUD videos on Twitter where Guys, welcome to Daily Bitcoin FUD. Our specialists spend hours every day discovering the latest news stories on why you should not buy Bitcoin. Let's see what the latest is. 21 million coin cap and 21 million coin cap and Silk Road. Yeah, 21 million coin cap. That might as well be a 21 million gun salute to the demise of Bitcoin, huh? You're really that selfish to think that you have a right for the things you earn and buy to hold value over time? How is the government going to shadow tax you through inflation? How is it going to pay for stuff? Do you want to live in a world where bridges and tunnels are collapsing in disrepair? You can't even cross the street because there's no crossing guards to help you out? The welfare lines are running out of soup? Huh? And then there's the Silk Road thing, right? Drugs. There were 21 million active hard drug users in the United States last year, according to federal statistics. 21 million Bitcoin, 20 million drugs. Seems pretty suspicious, huh? Bitcoin is for drug users. Not only do you want your school kids to risk getting hit by a bus when they're crossing the street without crossing guards, you want them to go home and get hooked on hard drugs. You cold, heartless bastard. You need to heat up your heart with your Bitcoin mining rigs, man, while you try and strive to get one of those Bitcoins before the rest of us, before the 99% can get our hands on them, because there are only 21 million out there for you greedy bastards. I'll be back with more FUD tomorrow. Anyway, so I'll just like ramble like that on the various reasons that, and it's started to catch on a little bit.
I love it.
You're right. It's not. I didn't preach like that, but it's like this kind of like crazy passion, like come to mind, whatever extreme of consciousness stuff that people like, and of course it's all nonsense. But that's. But you know what? You can really, and this is part of what we've seen with like the trolling world. You really can communicate things through that kind of content. Like I can say things about Bitcoin, Satoshi's vision. Everything I say is a complete lie and is not what I believe, but it still communicates something to somebody. So it's really interesting. So yeah, go check out Daily FUD on Twitter.
Getting back to communication, though, like everyone kind of knows me as like this meme master now, like this meme guy. Like that's just kind of like something that kind of grew. I didn't mean it to be like that, but memes are like a great communication tool. A meme like tells a story in as few words as possible with a picture.
Yeah.
And a lot of the memes I've made, like Dan holding like title belts for Steam, EOS, and BitShares, like that's telling a story. And then it has the blocktivity stats of him having the top daily transaction blockchains. It's funny, it's entertaining, but it's also educational. Like it tells a story. It's like this guy built these 3 platforms and has the top blockchains. Like it's a story.
Well, and so this kind of takes us back to IOST, I guess, a little bit, because
we do have to mention that. Yeah.
So Pete and I have been running a node now on IOST, and we kind of stole a formula for Everything EOS. We even have a podcast called Inside IOST, and but one of the things that's been successful for us is trying to make sense of, because the IOST Foundation is coming out with all these Medium articles, and it's all very new, and there's a lot of confusion with governance and rewards and all this stuff, just like there has been with pretty much every new protocol. And one of the things that's been very successful for us has been trying to kind of like filter out all the noise and create a graphic to show rewards or show timelines. And then we just put like brought to you by Leobi in the corner. And all of a sudden the foundation is sharing it and the founder of the protocol is retweeting it, and it's floating around, and people are like sending it to me like, hey, did you see this article? And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that's my graphic
adding
right there.
value.
Well, I mean, yeah,
that's
you make things that people
the community.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You make things people find valuable.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a win-win.
I've in my whole life, I found to be very successful that you just give value everywhere you can. Everyone who you think deserves value, you give them value, and over time, you're going to get value in return. So, like, you were adding value to the IOST network as a block producer, and you're going to get value back from votes.
Right.
And, like, I give so much value. I give my heart to, like, Everything EOS and, like everything I do. And then now we're doing these games and these companies. It's gonna pay off, and people are going to support us. And you guys, it's a great idea to do content for any community. Like I do it for EOS, you're doing it for IOST.
I also do it for EOS.
Yeah, I've done videos for EOS. Like I've talked about issues with mainstream social media and mainstream Patreon and stuff like that.
What it does is it goes back. So whenever I was like saying how we had this dream team, and it really helped that we had time to like hang out in person for almost a year and get to know each other. It's really hard to get to know each other over the internet whenever all your communication's happening over Telegram or reading a blog article that has someone's name in it. But like when you do content, and especially video where like they're seeing you, you're letting them into your life. Like people feel like they know you even if you don't know them. A medium like this allows you to build trust and credibility over a large network of people that wouldn't be possible without a medium like this. But to get people to watch and even care, it has to be good. And to be good, you got to like pour your heart into it and like really try. And I think that's what makes us stand out. And
I think that's an excellent, wholesome message to end this episode on. What do you fellas think?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, I am Evan Schindler, and why don't you guys do your sign off?
I'm Peter Keay.
I'm Zack Gall.
And this has been
Everything EOS
Roundtable.
Everything Roundtable EOS IOST. Cheers.